Yeah, somewhat, right? So the Lee Chatelier, I've let it's Lee Chatelier, right? Okay. So Lee Chatelier principles say that the rate, a reaction, right? A reversible reaction, so to say, right? A reversible reaction will nullify or try to nullify the effect of a change, right? So if you induce any change that will affect the reaction, it is going to try to nullify, right? Let's just say if H2 plus O2 is there, right, it gives you H2O. Now this is not a reversible. Let me take a reversible reaction, right? For an example, let's take ammonia, right? That's, whoa, why it's not raising? Okay, all right. N2, right, gives you ammonia, NH3. So this is 3, this is 2, and yeah, works out, right? So this is a reversible reaction, right? So in this case, if you add more of the reactants, then the reaction will move forward. The forward reaction will increase so that it nullifies the effect of adding more reactants, right? Now, in case if I remove the reactant, since this is like 4 moles giving you 2 moles, if that's the ratio 4:2, if I increase if anything increase the number of moles on one side, it will move to the other side to nullify that effect, right? If somehow I reduce the number of moles from here, right, it will try to nullify the effect by breaking down the product into reactants, right, because it doesn't want to disturb its balance, right? So equilibrium, right, so it will try to maintain its equilibrium by nullifying the effect of the change that we have created, right? Either way, if we affect it such a way that it goes forward, right, then the reactant would try to go backward, right? The product will try to break down to go backwards, right? So the rate of reaction will be eventually will try to be balanced out, right? So this is what the Lee Chatterjee principle works with, right? So stresses, what kind of stresses we can induce, right? So if we increase the concentration of a substance, it shifts, right? The reaction will shift away from that substance, right? Let's just say if I increase the concentration of these two, then it will move forward to reduce that effect, right? Because extra concentration needs to be used up. That's the problem, right? Because there's more concentration over here and less over here, so it will try to create the balance. Let's just say if this was 4 and 2, I created 6 and 2, it will try to move forward to make it maybe back to 4 and 2 by creating more of the product, right? It will create more of the product to make it balance, or make it 6-3, right, so to say, right? So now if we decrease the concentration, then it would move towards the substance. Let's just say if I reduce the amount of the reactants, then it will go backwards and will try to reduce, because the need to produce more substance to make up for what was removed, right? So whatever was removed, the reaction will move in that direction to refill that amount. So if I bring it to 1:2, then the product will move backward to bring it back to 4:2. Okay, are you guys getting this so far? And this is the most critical factor, by the way. It's got like 6 points in the paper that work on this chart only. Okay, girls, confusion? Girls, are you guys with me on this so far? On Lee Chatterjee's principle? Okay. Okay, now the pressure. Now remember, the pressure and the temperature are the most critical factors that we're going to talk about, right? Because these will be used in all the questions that you'll be seeing in the past paper, right? So if you increase the pressure of a system, and definitely now this has a very unique effect, right? Pressure has a unique effect. It moves towards fewer moles of the gas. And why is that so, right? Instead, like before, where we were having this kind of effect, that we increased something and it moved forward and backward, right? Now with the pressure, there's a different behavior. So if I increase the pressure, it will move towards fewer moles, right? Now in this equation, out of this balance line, right, this is the equilibrium line, where do you see less number of moles in total in reactants or products? Yes, Hania, where do you see less number of moles? Hania, we've got 3 and 1 over here and 2 over here. So this is 3 plus 1 and this is 2. So which side has lower moles? Because this is a gas reaction. तो definitely it will move towards forward. You got the idea? तो जहां पर भी आपके नंबर ऑफ मोल रिएक्शन में कम होंगे ना, ये उस तरफ को जाएगा जब आप प्रेशर इंक्रीज करोगे. वंस यू गोइंग टू इंक्रीज द प्रेशर, इट विल मूव टुवर्ड्स द डायरेक्शन वेयर देयर आर लेस नंबर ऑफ मोल्स, राइट? अच्छा, if I reduce the pressure, it will have the negative effect, right? So if we reduce the pressure, right, it will move towards more moles. That means if I reduce the pressure, तो वो क्योंकि ये गैस रिएक्शन है तो I cannot control to separate them, राइट? डेफिनेटली अगर एक गैस चैम्बर है जहाँ पर ये रिएक्शन हो रहा है तो मुझे क्या पता उसमें अमोनिया कहाँ पे है, नाइट्रोजन कहाँ पे है, हाइड्रोजन कहाँ पे है, बिकॉज दे आर डिफ्यूज्ड इनटू ईच अदर, राइट? सो देयर इज नो वे टू सेपरेट देम इजीली एट लीस्ट. सो what is going to happen, it will try to move towards a point where it is going to have less number of moles, there has more number of moles because the pressure is now reduced. And why this is happening? Remember the collision theory, right, in mind. Because if you increase the pressure, now there are more number of moles over here, there are more collisions. Now the reaction as per the Le-Chatellier principle wants to nullify the effect of extra collisions. So it will move towards the lesser molecules, less number of moles. By moles means molecules, right? Over here they're referring to molecules. So less molecules will have less collisions, so less pressure, right? So it's trying to reduce the pressure by moving forward, and in case if we reduce the pressure, it will move backward to have enough collisions to keep the balance of the equilibrium. Are you guys with me? So refer this to collisions as well, okay? That's where the collision theory comes in hand. Okay, girls, Ira, any queries, any problems in the pressure one? I do have a question for this, right? Hania, you understand the pressure? Because as I said, these are the two critical ones. All the questions are based on pressure and temperature. Trust me. Rest of the factors, even if you don't memorize, it's no worries. But these two you have to memorize, right? Okay. Okay. Now increase of temperature, right? So if you increase the temperature, now we're going to work with temperature. We're going to see the balance of the same reaction, and we will apply this information immediately into one case, right? Now with increase of temperature, so if you increase the temperature, it away from heat or energy, exothermic reaction is favored. Now remember, formation of this is exothermic reaction and it goes backward, it's an endothermic reaction, right? This is the information I'm giving you additionally, right? So away from heat, energy, exothermic reaction is favored, right? So if you increase the heat, then more collisions are going to be there, then it will react more, then it would try to go forward, right? And if you cool it down, then that's an endothermic reaction. It will try to assist and reduce the number of collisions, so it would want to go backwards. Alright, so these are the factors that affect this. And catalyst definitely has no shift in general, right? It does not affect the forward or the backward, but it generally increases the rate at which the forward and the backward reactions are going to occur, right? So the catalyst is the most unique component in this, which does not affect does not shift the balance, right? It only increases the rate at which both forward and the backward reactions are affected. Are you guys clear so far on Le-Chatelier's principle? Again, I'm telling you, these are 6 fixed marks that are there, right? These are fixed 6 marks. So okay, now we're going to apply this Le-Chatelier's principle on ammonia production. This is what we call as Haber process, right? Now I want you guys to go through as a general a documentary of who Haber was and what was his contribution, right? How one person who has killed 1 million people has saved 1 billion people, right? So he was a general and he was a scientist, he was a chemist. He was the one who created the gas, phosgene gas, and all those poisonous gases in the World War II. right? He was a scientist behind that poisonous gas that was used on the French front, blister gas, also known as, right? But under the shame of what he had done, he thought of saving people by creating a biological molecule, what was considered as organic molecule, right? Organic urea, right? So it was thought that urea or any organic fertilizer could only be obtained from animals. It cannot be produced in the lab. So in other words, they people were relying on fertilizers, and the wars were going on the islands where there were fertilizers, rich fertilizers available. So to reduce that, to increase the yield of crops, to save people from hunger, the overpopulation, he created this Haber process that creates ammonia, and that ammonia is used in urea production, right? Okay. Now for ammonia, ammonia is manufactured in industry by Haber process, right? The raw materials are hydrogen and nitrogen, right? Over here the hydrogen is obtained from cracking of petroleum, right? Now this is a star fact that you need to remember. There's a question relating to it, right? It's a must question again, must pe aa gaya ye, right? Right. And the nitrogen is obtained from fractional distillation, right? Why don't we take hydrogen from air? Because it would be very expensive to get hydrogen from the air, because in air the percentage of hydrogen is very low. But we actually take cracking of this, by this we break down methane, right, which is a natural gas, right, petroleum it says, into hydrogen gas plus CO2, right? So we break it down and we get lots of hydrogen out of this, right? So it's a more economical process because we got lots of methane to work with, right? So that's how we get hydrogen. And nitrogen, since it's economical to get it from the air, it's a nearly an inert gas, so it does not have any known products from where we can obtain this more economically. So we use fractional distillation of liquefied air, and from there we get the nitrogen gas, right? Now the reaction is a reversible reaction, the one we were discussing about. N2 plus 3H2 gives you ammonia. Now all three are gases now over here, so it's a gas problem, right? Only 10% to 15% of gases are converted to ammonia, right? That means only 15% yield is there. That means 85% of the reactant will remain as reactant and they will not react, right? So to improve that, what we do is that we change the conditions of this reaction, in which I'm not going to state 250 atm, we're going to state 200 atm pressure, which is 200 bars, right? And that's a lot, right? In kPas, that is actually equal to 200 that many pascals. So that's a huge amount of pressure that we're talking about, right? So remember this. Yes, so this is 200 atm, right, pressure that we maintain, and the temperature of 400 to 450 degrees Celsius, right? And then we use iron as a catalyst over here, right? So this is an iron catalyst that we use. So I'll talk about that, these conditions. We have questions relating to the conditions of these this reaction, right? So just the flow chart, right? This is what we call as the flow chart, the flow diagram. At times they ask you to make the flow chart. This is the flow chart you're supposed to be making, that you take ammonia from air and hydrogen from cracking of the natural gas, right? And then you mix them up in a ratio of 1:3, which is the reaction ratio, right? You put them in a chamber where there's 200 atm pressure and 450 degrees Celsius temperature in the iron catalyst, and you get ammonia. The cooled down ammonia is liquefied and then it's taken away, while unreacted gases are sent back and then re-entered the chamber. So it's a cycle that we use, right? This is also known as the Haber cycle, right? Now this is the process layout diagram that is there. This is not for your course, just for the understanding that you have these two. You add a compressor to increase the pressure, right? And you put them through this iron catalyst, right? There are bars like this, the air has to go, or the gases have to run along these iron bars, causing them to react faster, right? And as a result you get nitrogen, hydrogen and ammonia. Again, this has 15% yield, so 85% of the ammonia of the gases are recycled back for the next cycle of the reaction. So this keeps on happening while you keep on adding this, right? And this is the cooling tank. Since ammonia is a heavier gas, right, compared to hydrogen and nitrogen, so this liquefies easily, it drops down, it condenses, and then we take out the condensed ammonia out of the tank. All right. So now, why high temperature, right? Although we just discussed in the example over here that if we increase the temperature, right, if we increase the temperature, it should actually work negative to this reaction, right, because this is endo and exothermic. So increasing the reaction, increasing the temperature, if we know that the increase of temperature favors, right, favors endothermic reaction, right, this is what we studied, and decrease of temperature favors exothermic, right. And we do know over here that N2 plus H2 forward reaction, right, of NH3 is exo, and the backward is endothermic, right. That means if I operate this at high temperature of this 450 degrees Celsius, the reaction should go backwards, right. It should favor the backward reaction, and that is that any help to us? It is not. Then why are we keeping high temperature? Is because we want to have high number of collisions to even make it go forward, right. This reaction does not occur on its own because we have nitrogen and hydrogen in the air and they do not react. So to provide them the activation energy, now the concept of activation energy and forcing collisions, right, collisions, we use high temperature, right. Even though this is supposed to go into our this does not go in our favor, but still we increase the temperature so that the collisions could occur and the activation energy is there, although the catalyst is added to reduce the activation energy, but still they do not react that easily. So increase the temperature to increase the collisions so that they start reacting, right. Now the problem with the low yield, right, since this is favoring the endothermic, so more of the product, this ammonia, will break down before condensing and turn into this gas and go into recycling unit. So what do? We use high pressure, right. So what is the high pressure doing us? If you remember the Le-Chatelier's principle again, that the high pressure increases less number of molecules, and this is how we make up for the problem with the temperature, right. Even though the temperature increase favors the endothermic, we make it go towards the exothermic forward reaction by increasing high pressure and very high pressure at that, right. 200 bar is extremely scary pressure, right. Keep in mind, if that machinery blows up, nothing's gonna be left. I don't know about that, but let's stay focused on the Haber process for now, right? Because this is a critical question. So we compensate the yield by increasing very high temperature, right? We put very high pressure. Because of this, you see this has 4 number of moles at this side and 2 number of moles at this side, so there are less molecules on this side. So we do know if we increase the pressure, it moves towards less number of molecules to reduce the number of collisions, right. And those collisions were increasing by temperature, right, and we're increasing the yield by increasing the pressure, right. So this is how we increase the yield and make the ammonia production feasible, right. Otherwise, either if we keep one of the conditions low, then the production of ammonia is not feasible. It is even lower than the 15% yield. Are you guys clear so far? What are the effects of high temperature, and why do we use high temperature and high pressure in Haber process? You guys clear? Because these are confirmed questions. You'll see one question of the past paper, right? And it's in every question paper. Keep in mind, every year, every variant, you will find either the Haber process or the second one, the contact process, right? So these are both related to Le-Chatelier's principle, right? Because we're trying to increase the yield of a reversible reaction, right? Now, contact process is used for the most commercially important chemical, which is the sulfuric acid. This is also known as the king of chemicals, right? And why this is called the king of chemicals? Because this is the highest amount of any chemical produced in the world. Why is that so? Because even for cleaning ammonia tanks, after the production of ammonia, we use sulfuric acid as a cleaning agent, right? All food manufacturing facilities, they need sulfuric acid for cleaning purposes. We use sulfuric acid for domestic cleaning, right? Those sink cleaners or washroom cleaning acids that we use, or even any salt removal or metal rusting removal. All of that cleaning, any kind of cleaning process would require sulfuric acid to be used, right? And that is why this is known as the king of chemicals, because it's the highest, major, most contributor to the chemical production in the industry. The highest amount of chemical ever produced is the H2SO4, and the second one is actually ammonia, right? The second largest production is owing to the ammonia, right? And the third one is actually ethanol, right, which is not just used for drinking but also for medical purposes, for cleaning agents, and even for uses for chemical reactions, right, in chemical industry. Okay, now how is sulfuric acid produced? So we start with sulfur, right? We burn sulfur in air. So we put air in, and we burn sulfur in the furnace. That causes to form sulfur dioxide, which is a non-reversible reaction, right? So it's a forward reaction, so no Leach-Chatelier principle required over here. So sulfur reacts with O2 to give you SO2, right? Now this is exothermic, this is exothermic reaction because it's going to burn, so there's no problem. Since it is an irreversible reaction, so Leach-Chatelier principle does not apply. Leach-Chatelier principle applies only on reversible reactions or equilibrium, right? Okay, once you do this, now after sulfur dioxide, since this is burning, so it is going to cause some dust and some fumes and unwanted products, so we put steam or water spray in it. Because of that, the SO2 gets purified, and only SO2 proceeds forward along with air, right? Now furthermore, in the contact process, we react sulfur dioxide with more of oxygen to give us sulfur trioxide, right? And these are again gas problems, right? Again, these are gases. So Leach-Chatelier principle, especially the pressure and temperature, is going to be very handy in our problem over here, right? And we use a catalyst, vanadium pentoxide, V2O5. V2O5 is used as a catalyst to increase the rate of reaction, right? Now the problem over here is that in this phase, which is phase 1, right, the chemical combustion, and then the converter, and finally the absorber, we have 3 stages, right? Now over here we have a problem. In this case, this sulfur trioxide wants to get back, right, since it's an equilibrium. So the yield is affected, or the production is affected, because of the backward rate, right, and the forward rate. So to increase the rate of reaction of this sulfur trioxide, which is going to be our key of importance in making this sulfuric acid, so what we do is we take sulfur trioxide, react with sulfuric acid, which is, as of start, we get sulfuric acid by mixing this with water as well, right? So in major production we use direct sulfuric acid, which spray it on, and that forms oleum, right? H2S2O4, right? This is called oleum. Remember this name, again a star thing to remember, right? How sulfuric acid is formed? It is formed by the dilution of oleum, right? H2S2O4 is further diluted with water to give you 2 moles of sulfuric acid, out of which 1 mole is again redirected back, so you're only left with 1 mole sulfuric acid in production, right? Because this is recycled. So this is how it works, right? Now this is available in the book. This is easily available on the internet, but what is not available on the internet or on the book is why these conditions are kept, and the questions are there in the past paper. That does not there is an explanation for that why we keep high temperature, right? This is a high temperature process, right? This occurs at around 400 degrees Celsius, right? 400 degrees Celsius, but to atmospheric pressure. So the pressure is low pressure but high temperature, right? In this case, it's a very simple explanation, right? We keep high temperature because over here this increases collisions. So to increase the rate of reaction, we use high temperature, and we keep low pressure is because already the yield is more than 90%, right? 90% yield at this much temperature. So we don't need to put high pressure to increase the rate of forward reaction, because already the yield is very high, right? The forward reaction is very high, and since the SO3 is immediately consumed and converted into oleum, so we don't have any much backward reaction left, because we're taking away this product, right, which is the concentration problem over here, if you remember, right, in the Le-Chatelier's principle, that if you decrease the concentration of the substance, it will move towards the substance that was removed, right? Since we are immediately taking out this sulfur trioxide, reacting with oleum and taking out sulfuric acid out, so there is no SO3 left to go back, right? Unlike the ammonia process, in which the reactant was left and that went back, right? Over here there is nothing left to go back, hence the rate of forward reaction is already very high, right? And since we don't need to increase the rate of reaction, it's already around, I guess, 97%, right? 97 or 98% yield is already there at this much temperature, right? At normal or room temperature it is 90%, so at 400 degrees Celsius we increase it to 98%. So we don't need high pressure, because this is dangerous, right? And already very fast reaction, right? Very fast process. Okay, would you guys remember this detail on this, girls? No, we're not done. Okay, how much time is left? 15 minutes. Okay, we've got plenty of time, no worry. Okay, let's get into the question immediately. Now this is the question for Haber process, right? Let me zoom it up a little bit. Again, this is a must question, so these questions come around anyway, right? Now sulfuric acid is made by contract process. Sulfur is burnt by spraying droplets of molten sulfur into air. There are many ways to burn, right? I've given the burning one. Suggest, explain the advantage of using this method, right? Why sulfur is burned? Most economical, because economy, with industry we have to work about economy. Most economic process, as O2 is taken from air. Okay, this is for the O2. O2 is taken from air. Why air? Because we want the O2. And sulfur, because we burn it, it's easier, it's more economic, so it easily forms sulfur dioxide. This is for SO2 formation, right? The following equation represents the equilibrium in the contact process. This is the troubling problem, right? Oxygen is supplied from the air. The composition of the reaction is 1 volume of sulfur dioxide to 1 volume of oxygen. So it's 1:1, giving you 2, right? What volume of air contains 1 dm cube of oxygen, right? What volume of air contains 1 dm cube of oxygen? Yes? Have any idea? What volume? 1 liter, right? By the way, I think there's a problem with the question, because it's the same question as they're giving you dm cubes as well. So it would be 1 dm cube anyway, right? Okay. It's 1:1, so it should be 1:1. Okay, sulfur dioxide, more expensive than air. What is the advantage of using excess air, right? What is the advantage of using excess air? It is economic, right? Number one. Number two, to completely consume SO2 produced. That's the second factor, right? 2 points, so 2 factors you need to get. One is the economy, the other is it completely consumes SO2. Reason being, again, I told you about the concentration. So if you increase the concentration on the reactant side, so the reaction will move forward to reduce that effect, right? So definitely if you keep on giving more oxygen, it will try to move forward. That means any SO2 which has not reacted yet will react to go forward, right? Okay, and also the pressure effect is also visible from the number of moles, because this is 3 number of moles, this is 2 number of mole. If we increase the pressure, then obviously it should move forward, but we don't do so because already it's an economic pressure at low pressure, so we avoid the danger of high pressure, right? Okay, Now, the forward reaction is exothermic. The reaction is usually carried out at a temperature between 400 to 450. What is the effect on the position of the equilibrium of using temperature above 450? Above 450, right? Now, it will force the reaction to move backwards, right? And reason being, because this is this is an exothermic reaction. Once we do this, the heat is released. So if we heat it up, it will move backward. But yes, why we still keep it this high is because this is most favorable. So there's a range, right, where we get the best economy, right, and the best production, right? So this is the range that we use between 400 to 450, where we get the most amount of this will go backward, right, and this will go forward but slow, right? This will go backward but slow, right? And this is the fastest forward reaction that you can have in the middle, right? So that's why we keep it a range, right? So if we increase the temperature then more than 450, it will go backward. It would favor the backward reaction, right? As equilibrium will be disturbed, right? That's what you will explain over here. Okay, at low pressure to atmosphere is 98%, so SO3 is present. What is the effect of the position using high pressure, right? Now they are asking what is the effect of high pressure, right? Now if you look at it, increasing the pressure will increase the reaction to go forward, right? So we will say the rate of forward reaction will increase, right? Forward reaction is favored. Forward is favored. Although, why high pressure is not used? To avoid danger of or you can say already high efficiency is everyone others are also having the same problem? Girls, you're also, are you guys able to hear me properly? Okay. Oh god, by writing on the tablet my hand is now stiff. Oh, please don't mind my writing, right? So there are two ways you can explain this, but I would recommend already high efficiency, so to avoid danger of pressure, right? Since this already at 2 atmosphere 98, they're telling you in this statement, question statement, so do refer to economy, that it's already 98%, so avoid the danger of high pressure, right? That's the simple process. Even though increasing the pressure is going to increase it from 90, probably 98% to maybe 99%, right? But I doubt taking the danger for 1% increases is favorable, right? That's why they don't do it. Name the catalyst used V2O5 vanadium pentaoxide or vanadium oxide, right? Vanadium oxide, that's the name. They are asking for name, so not the formula, right? Vanadium oxide is used. Okay, describe how how concentrated sulfuric acid is made from sulfur trioxide. How concentrated, right? SO3 reacts with you're going to write it in statement, right? You have to describe it. Is reacted with H2SO4, right, sulfuric acid, to create oleum, right? And then oleum is diluted with water to form concentrated H2SO4. Okay, this is what the answer. As I said, these are star questions, so these are must. ये question ऐसे ही आएगा, अगर आएगा तो ये पूरा का पूरा आ जाएगा, ठीक है? या ये आएगा या Haber process आएगा, दोनों में से कोई एक आता है, must आता है, right? Okay. Now coming back to our original question on the other end, right? This one. Since we have 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna rush through this question. Okay, so please bear with me. Now, when the equilibrium, if you remember, we were talking about this question of the chloride, right? When the equilibrium when the equilibrium mixture is heated, it becomes darker brown, right? Look, this is dark brown and this is less, right? Why heating this? Give a reason for this. Suggest if the reaction is reversible or irreversible. You see, by heating, it favors the endothermic reaction. So it is endothermic, right? As it goes backwards. Got the idea? Right? क्योंकि देखो ना यहाँ पे डार्क ब्राउन है ना, तो डार्क ब्राउन इंक्रीज हो रहा है, तो दैट मीन्स गोइंग बैकवर्ड. एंड वाई वी गो बैकवर्ड व्हेन द रिएक्शन इज एंडोथर्मिक, राइट, एंड वी गो फॉरवर्ड व्हेन इट्स एक्सोथर्मिक, राइट, by increasing temperature. Remember, heating की बात हो रही है, cooling की बात हो रही है. Cooling would have the opposite effect, right? The pressure of the equilibrium is decreased. How would this affect the position of the pressure, right? Now the pressure is decreased, so I'm going to write the ratio. It's 2:1 between the reaction, right? So the pressure is decreased. If the pressure is decreased, the reaction would move forward, right? Because it will move towards, sorry, the pressure is decreased, sorry, it would move again backwards, right? Because it will move towards greater number of moles from the less, because pressure is decreased, so it will move backwards, right? And reason favors uh, you know, to increase number of molecules or collisions, right, to maintain balance. That's why it will move backward, right, because we have reduced the pressure, so there are less collisions, so they want to increase the collisions by moving backwards. Where there are more molecules will collide more, right, more concentration. So concentration, pressure and volume, they all have the same effect, right? Only temperature has the different effect, right? Okay, describe what would you observe, right? If we decrease the pressure, it would become darker brown, right? Reason being, it's going backward, so definitely it will become darker brown, because backward is dark brown and forward is yellower, right? Okay, calculate the overall change for the reaction between iodine chlorine using this energy, right? So we do know this is 2 and 2 of this, right? So then multiplied by 1, multiplied by 1, multiplied by 2. So since this is breakage and formation, right, so these are plus and minus, right? So I'm just gonna simply add them up. So it is going to be 151, 242, and it is going to be 416, right? So 416 minus 242 minus 151, right? So this is minus 23. That is why it is an exothermic reaction, right? Even though there's a very small amount of heat that you will be able to feel, but still it's an exothermic reaction, right? Draw the label energy level diagram is the same diagram that is there, right? You will draw this, since it's exothermic, so you will draw this diagram for this, right? So how would you draw this diagram? How will you represent this? Is simple, right? You take the energy over here, right, and since an exothermic reaction, so you'll draw this, and over here, right, this you will say delta H, right, and this you will call as delta E, activation, right? This is reactant, right, and this is product, or you can say darker and this is yellow, or you can just simply name them ICl and I2 and Cl2, right? This is what you're going to draw, and this is also for 3 marks. Got it? Okay, that's it for today's lesson.